There we go, perfect, and we can just move Xigua's name up into position as well. Alright guys, so sorry about that. Again, it's us kind of restream the Chinese stream, so any mistakes they make show up on here. And so, for once, I'm not actually responsible. As we see, the Zergling's just coming on in over towards the upper right-hand side of the map very soon here from Scarlett. I mean, 6 things on the way out for Xigua. He hasn't seen the thing is, the strength of this on this map is that you don't necessarily see this very early on, because even when you have kind of, the overload coming in, you're not necessarily guaranteed to see a natural expansion. So, I mean, Xigua not going to see anything weird here for now, as we're going to see them Lings have hidden themselves to the left side so they can start moving across the map and become Banelings very early on in this. And you see one overload just stopped in the middle of the map so they can morph in, because you can see any Lings trying to run across here. As it looks to the right now, Xigua starting to realize what's going on, pulling his Lings back, starting up more Lings, Baneling Nest on the way, and a Spine Crawler starting up too. As we're going to see these Lings just going to morph into a few Banelings here and run on in towards this base as the Zerglin speed over to here. Going to try and kill off that Spine Crawler or turn around and fight Lings if they come forwards. And Scarlett just looking for damage, obviously, in the early stages of this. Banelings are going to get a good position around the back side of this, and these Lings are going to start going down. Not enough Lings left over here, as now Scarlett can take down the Spine Crawler without much difficulty. That's going to be cancelled. And, well, this natural hatchery is in. Whoa! Scarlett runs her Banelings into the lava. Big mistake from Scarlett, because then Banelings are so important, so useful. Scarlett does still come in and kills off both queens, but if she still had 3 Banelings up, well, that could be so much better for her. She's going to try and work her way through this hatchery still, and she might still get the kill on this. She pulls away a few Lings to take down, and she's going to try and trade for these Banelings, try and minimize the damage she takes. She's doing a good job so far. More Lings coming in. Hatchery goes down, and Scarlett will take a lead in terms of the hatchery timing here. As, oops, Banelings getting used on the Broodlings there. No real choice, because the Broodlings were actually going to kill that Baneling, had it kind of cornered in. As we're going to be seeing the other Baneling coming forwards here. And, well, a connection on those Banes, it might not seem super useful, but it might be nice just to sort of get them kind of low, so that the Zerglings can have a bit of an easier time picking them off, as Scarlett targeting them down. Gets 1 or 2 Lings for 1 Bane. Is still a little bit behind in workers here. She's still 16 workers to 21. Her own hatchery is on the way up, though, and she is beginning to drone and style. Very fast layer behind this, so maybe a very fast switch to Mutalisks here from Scarlett in this game as she moves up this ramp, takes a big Baneling connection, and that's probably, well, not the first mistake we've seen from her. I mean, earlier that, when she ran up the ramp and when she ran her Banelings into the lava, that was probably, not the lava, but the eggs, and kills nothing. That's probably the biggest mistake from her so far, I think. Unless that was intentional. I mean, killing lava can sometimes be okay, very, very rarely, but hitting it on legs, I don't think she actually killed any lava at all. As you see Scarlett now having a hold on this counter attack. She was caught droning here for a moment, but good queen positioning, good Zergling number. That's going to mean that she can just about shut this down. Costs her queen, but does survive. Doesn't take any further damage than just losing the queen. So just going to be seeing these a few more Lings just on the way out, just collecting together, going to be moving up towards the upper right-hand side. So, just going to be seeing the Lings kind of counter-attack once again. Now, the one Ling from Xigua did get to see the fact that there was a lair done, and so she should be able to tell with a lair that fast, it just has to be something along the lines of Mutalisks on the way in. You see Xigua going to drop a double evolution chamber, and we wonder if he's just going to try something a little bit different, a little bit wacky here, to try and pull him back into this. Maybe something along the lines of, say, double upgrades like melee and carapace upgrades or something like that. Could be very, very powerful. As we see the queen and a few Lings just sat on the ramp, still a few Lings going to lead the charge, and they're going to start picking off that drone. And they are going to be able to take that down. So drone falls, a couple more Lings going forwards once again. Scarlett still applying the pressure here. As she comes in, she's going to be able to pull that Baneling forwards as well. Going to try and pick off those couple of Banelings there. She gets one. She's going to go for the second. A couple of Lings onto that. And now she might be able to get the queen too before more Lings come in. Going to be close, but she will get the queen kill. So, some nice little bit of micro war here to kind of bring Scarlett out a little bit further in the lead once again. Very well played. Very well played indeed. As we see the couple of Evo Chambers are being put to use for their melee upgrades, so I think Xigua is basically just saying, well, I don't know really, maybe, I mean, just doing something a little bit, sort of like, well, maybe I take double upgrades and maybe I can just sort of trade super well on the ground and that'll help me win this. I mean, he needs to find some way back into this. One way or another, he has to get back into this at some point. Otherwise, he may as well just leave already. So his attempt is going to be, the melee upgrades, which could work out very well. But with Scarlett going into Mutalisks, you have to be worried for Xigua. I mean, the Mutas are going to be able to kill off so many, any Overlords out on the map. Going to force Spork Rollers as well. You have so much potential to just find damage here and there. That being said, Xigua, I mean, is on a worker lead, is kind of on a faster third hatch. It's just Scarlett's tech with their Mutalisks is ahead. We'll be looking to see how that goes, as we do see the few Queens just moving towards the third base a little bit. And them Zerglings and Mutas just going to be running on up here and towards the those Zerglings too. Lair starts up in the main base, so Lair starting up in the main. Queen's going to turn those Mutalisks around once again, as we see. Well, just going to run forwards here with these Zerglings, just going to be running on in. Again, Mutas just looking to try and trade there with those Queens, but not super successful with it. And we're just going to be seeing the the game is sort of in a bit of a weird state right now, because it's not very often you see the super fast it's not very often you see the super fast Mutalisks like this. And against kind of now very fast melee upgrades, it puts us into a very weird situation where maybe eventually we're seeing Xigua heading in towards his own sort of Mutalisks, and just hoping that the melee upgrades will help him win out on the ground when it's Mutaling versus Mutaling. As you see, these Lings just running back. I'm just going to be another attempt at a counterattack, but again, Scarlett's consistently here just with Balins ready to go, Mutalisks and Queens in position, and just consistently turning this around, not allowing any sort of run by to get any damage done. So a few more units just going to be coming back, and again, a couple of extractors starting up on the third base. Mutas are still looking to move forward and see what can happen. But there's a lot of Queens now, and again, this sort of defense from Xigua is looking very strong. I mean, Scarlett is still investing into more and more Mutalisks. We actually see an infestation pit on the way out of Xigua. I wonder if, with melee upgrades, he could just try and go in towards his Hive Tech and in towards Ultras. I mean, Mutas can kill Ultras, obviously, but at the same time, it takes them a long time to. So, I mean, it's a possibility, maybe not immediate possibility. We could just see Infestors on the way out right now, so looking to maybe catch those Mutas in a couple of Fungals, but then what do you do as a follow-up? I guess just trade with the Queens is kind of his goal. Scarlett is very late on the third hatchery. I mean, her third hatch has not been taken, and obviously been under a lot of pressure from them 1-1 Lings, and so she hasn't really been able to get a third hatch up at all. And so that is definitely one way in which Xigua has taken quite the lead, has somewhere to send those drones as he begins to mine out, and Scarlett will just be moving around with these few Mutas and continuing to trade with the Zerglings. So Mutas just continue to trade with these Zerglings, as a few more still up towards the upper right hand side here for Xigua. Still just looking around, picking off another couple of troop tumors. He's to be so careful of those Infestors, cannot possibly get caught in a Fungal and hope to still do well in this game, because getting caught in a Fungal when the Queens are nearby as well, you just lose their Mutalisks, and that's a lot of what Scarlett's been invested into throughout the game. You lose these Mutas, you're just in trouble straight up, so has to make sure that just not let that happen. Scarlett's switching into Roaches now, going into +1 missiles while still going into switching into Roaches, sorry, it's +1 missiles on the way for Xigua, as he also switches into Roaches. Scarlett too going Roaches, but also going +1/+1 on the melee upgrades, so kind of interesting. I wonder if that's just a misclick on the melee, or whether she started melee then decided to go Roaches later. And she's had Roach speed building for a time, so the melee upgrade is interesting. I wonder if just eventually here she wants to go into her own Ultras, perhaps, which is actually a more common follow-up of a kind of Mutalisk, but you don't usually go Roaches if you transition into Ultras. So it's a very sort of weird thing here where she's going to have an upgrade which is not really going to help her out in any way, shape or form with the army that she's currently building. Now, if she suddenly makes a whole ton of Zerglings to reinforce, then sure, but that doesn't really look as though it's going to be the case here. Xigua going to be dropping down his Hive right now. Just going to be starting heading towards the potential Ultras cavern here. He doesn't really need Vipers. The Muta count isn't that high. Scarlett didn't, keep on massive Mutalisks. If she had done, then there's definitely the possibility that we maybe see instead, Scarlett. Not instead, but maybe we do see the Vipers coming now, just kind of a couple of parasitic bombs to try and push those away a little bit. And we're just going to be seeing a Muta being picked off over there. So Muta getting picked off, and still Scarlett is building them. Now she is building a lot of Lings, a lot of Banes too. And she gets ready to go for this, and just going to go for a big attack to try and bust on through before any kind of Hive Tech comes in. But the problem is, these infestors, they're very good against banelings. They're very good at stopping banelings from connecting because the fungal growth locks down the banelings in position. So that's going to be an issue. And Scarlett kind of splits up. It's been a very weird game. We might start to see the conclusion of it now. Oh my god, she gets caught in a huge fungal when it looks as though she wasn't actually trying to fight at all. Big fight to begin with for Xigua, and honestly, that beginning of this engagement is just sort of, well, it's horrendous. I mean, the start of this fight was really, really bad, really, really weak for Scarlett, and I don't think she was actually looking to fight. I think she just kind of was walking around, but then gets caught in the fungal. She has to fight. Her meters were out of position. That was the worst fight we could have seen from Scarlett. I mean, down and upgrade as well means them roaches aren't going to trade super well anyway. And in an unfavorable engagement, it means that is just going to be right there. Pretty much game. I mean, she loses so much supply so quickly in comparison to Xigua, who just continues to push across. Going to run on in. I mean, 2 queens going to go down. Roach is going to go down. Scarlett. Well, the early aggression started very well for her, but she never killed drones, and so she never actually, I guess, really got into a lead, and the lateness of her third base didn't help. GG being called, and that's going to be that. We're going to see map score is definitely a possibility still. Game number 2, up a game to the bottom right is our blue Zerg player Xigua, the Chinese Zerg from Invictus Gaming. His opponent right now is the red Zerg to the upper left, Scarlett from #OnFire, who has been, well, gave us a fun series against Bomber, but well, here right now. She's a game down against Xigua, so has to win 2 in a row. Needs to win 2 in a row. How you guys all doing in the chat? Welcome to the stream. If you just joined us here, you're watching the Leifeng Cup number 145, Group number C. $2,600 on the line every 2 weeks here for the Leifeng Cup. And of course, we'll bring you guys as much of the action as we can. The next matches will be on Thursday, Group D of the competition, which features some players who I have forgotten. Group D, Impact, Patience, Jim, and Ein. Should be a pretty cool group as well. Impact, someone we don't see too much of. Patience has been very successful in the tournaments he's played in Legacy of the Void. Jim, always one to watch out for from the Chinese scene. And Ein has been, for a long time, a very strong talent player in the Chinese scene as well. So Group D's matches will be very interesting as well. That'll be on Thursday from 2 PM CEST. That'll be our only stream of the day on Thursday. And yeah, then the playoffs take place on Friday, apparently. All of them. Which is going to be interesting. I don't know how. I think it's just now a best of 3 double elim bracket. I'm just going to go in. I'll ask for confirmation on that from the from my contact sometime soon. Early on in this match, we're going to see, or in this map, we're going to be seeing that neither player is really going to turn on the aggression. It's going to be hatch gas pool from both, as we see. Bane Nest on the way from Xigua. No Bane Nest just yet from Scarlett, and so I wonder if we see her maybe dropping down a Roach Roar and trying to be a little bit aggressive once again with a Roach Roar or so. As we're going to be seeing, these queens just going to be moving around the left side of the map. So, Pastor, how you doing, buddy? Loving the donations. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. You're also loving the, what's going to be, Pandas? Panda TV? Yeah, it's good, right? Panda TV, it's a classic. It's a real, it's become a bit of a favourite on the stream, actually. People actually only really tune in to kind of count the number of pandas that run across the top of the screen, more so than people who actually tune in to watch the games. And I think a couple people here were to watch like Scarlett play and stuff, but I think most people are just on Panda Watch. Seems to be the case. Feelings just kind of poking towards the front and having a look to see what's going on. Third archery is on the way down here for our Zerg player, Xigua. And just, I mean, a very passive game. I mean, a little bit of Lings kind of fighting and so on. Either Chambers starting upgrades, not seeing if that is missiles or what. Scarlett going to go into a Spy off of a lair. lack of production tab right now is making things a little bit difficult to sort of tell you guys what's going on. So, yeah, just sort of waiting to see the production tab, because that'd be really nice. I mean, the worker count is even. Much faster third base for Xigua, which is kind of suggesting that he's probably going to go into just roaches or here. So here he starts up a second. He starts up a second Rotron. Eva chamber, sorry. I think that has to be a Rotron, right? I mean, it'd be really nice if we figured it out instead of just watching. We're currently watching hatcheries being selected, you know? It'd be nice to see something a bit different. Shows the production tab, please. Like, it's just really frustrating. Spider's about to finish here, which is something we see kind of useful on the screen. I mean, mutas against what I think is roaches and roach upgrades is a very common kind of clash of compositions in the ZvZ. And generally, I mean, it depends how well you play on the mutas and how. I mean, it depends on the moves from both players. But I mean, there we go. Scarlett going to go into his melee upgrades. There we go. This is why we needed to see this. You know, we needed to see what it was going to be. Melee upgrades out of Xigua, and his lair only just starting. While Scarlett gets her first meters onto the map. So they have an interesting clash, making roaches, but also upgrading melee upgrades. Going to make things very, very interesting. So we'll see how this goes. We can see again just +1/+1 melee upgrades on the way from Xigua. We're going to see the Sport Crawlers just on the way down from him to start protecting against these mutas. He knows about them now as they take down their first Overlord. The mutas just going to be moving out onto the map. To have a little bit of a look to see what's going on and what is happening. So some mutas just moving out onto the map, and we're going to see, well, a lot of units starting to move through the centre. I mean, Scarlett needs to try and keep track of any units which are trying to counterattack and make sure mutas are on top of it. But lots of Lings running by to the right-hand side, and they're going to be looking for a cancel on the third base. So Scarlett probably going to have to cancel that. As we're going to see that third hatchery going down. And we just see the mutas still just trying to get damage done, but not being, again, super successful just yet. So we're going to see a queen coming in. A couple of Lings a few Lings just going to surround them roaches over there. As these roaches just going to be pushing away over to the right hand side. So them Lings going to be pushed away over to the right. We're going to see the third hatch coming down here from Scarlett as well. A few queens still set up at the front. A few queens still set up over here at the front. It's just going to be seen. Again, I think Xigua's just getting into a good position. I mean, Scarlett's a few workers ahead. She's going into +2 missile attacks. So she started her upgrades very early on here to kind of go for the roach switch. I'm still intrigued about the kind of the +1/+1 melee upgrades from Xigua, because it seems as though for the most part he's playing roaches and just using the Lings to counterattack. So are the melee upgrades then really important? Do you really need them? Well, I don't really think you do. As you're going to be seeing these couple of Evos just sat on the natural. Just going to be starting at +1/+2. I mean, we're still just trying to get some damage done. Scarlett hasn't really kind of overcommitted to these, I guess, which is the good thing, because she doesn't get much done with them. She's not she's not done too much with them, but she is switching very quickly into roaches. So right now they're behind by about 10 to 20 army supply at any point in time, which is not great, although maybe it's just her not spending her money. She has some more money in the bank to spend. She does have that faster +2 missile upgrade, which is a big, big difference in the ZvZs. So still just sort of waiting to see something kind of more interesting starting to happen. I mean, at this point, we're still just seeing the mutas harassing and both players building up the roach counts. And, I mean, here on Frozen Temple, run-bys and so on are still always going to be very, very effective, very, very useful, and one of the main kind of tools in your game. Because kind of just attacking straight up through the center isn't always going to work out, because, well, you can just see Xigua sat on top of this ramp. No way can Scarlett realistically fight up into this. Even with an upgrade advantage, she can't take a bad engagement like that. As we're going to be seeing these roaches, couple of Ravagers, some more Queens. I mean, run-by going to go in towards the natural and in towards the main now too. Scarlett keeping her third base protected, moving her roaches over there in case of a run-by at the same time, in case of multi-pronged aggression. She's just kind of predicting the possibility of this. So just moving those into position to the right, and again, just setting up a fourth base now. So Scarlett going to be the first to take a, well, not the first to take a fourth. Fourth is actually started for Xigua too, so both players going into fourth bases. It's a somewhat even game. I mean, Scarlett and Xigua have been trading kind of worker leads, army supplies have been even. The one thing Scarlett does have in favour is the fact that she has +2 missiles already finished, but there's no carapace upgrades for her, and there'll be +2 carapace for Xigua. So there's It's a little bit late. It's a little bit late. On the carapace upgrades to Scarlett, but she has the missile upgrade, and there's actually no sign of the +2 missiles yet from Xigua, so that's a little bit of an issue. As we see the Hydralisks just going to be starting up from both players. So both players starting up a whole bunch of Hydras. Lurker Den on the way down from Scarlett, so looking for a Lurker transition here. I mean, Lurkers kind of destroy as a Roach-based army, or Hydra-based army as well. So both players going into Hydras, but with very different ideas of how to use them. Xigua going to play Roach Hydra for a while, as we see with the muscular augments on the way up. Whereas Scarlett looking for Roach Hydra so she can go into basically, not really Roach Hydra, but just kind of get a good kind of back line of Lurkers to help her defend positions on the map and to help her kind of, well, attack and trade as well, obviously. A few extra Hydras on the way, and then from Xigua, he's maxing out here, pushing across the map with a few Queens as well. I'm going to start pushing back a few Overlords for Scarlett in the centre. So Scarlett's going to lose a couple of Overlords here. Going to have to just rebuild those before she gets supply block from losing them. A few Roaches to the left-hand side going to get pushed away. Still has her Mulus, which can come in and try and help out in terms of getting some damage done. Already going to latch onto the Roaches on the left, so that's nice, getting some damage done before this fight's ready to go. Now it's Xigua trying to push through the centre of the map to get damage done, but of course Scarlett's in the concave on the high ground, so not going to let that happen. Picking off Roaches to the left-hand side as well, because there's no anti-air over here. Scarlett doing a nice job of actually kind of making use of what she's got on the map, and she will pick off just anything 4 or 5 Roaches or something into that, of that group on the left-hand side. And we do just see the few Roaches just going to be pulling back through the centre as well. Roaches and Hydra. What is this? Why are we watching the back end of the army? Thank you. Roaches, Hydras, and Ravagers moving up the right as the Lurker Den comes down now as well for Xigua. Scarlett into a Hive though, and she's going into +3 missile attack. She's starting up an Ultra Chasm Zone as well. And that also muscular augments also. So we're getting into a very late stage of this ZvZ. Getting into a very late stage of this ZvZ. We're going to see a few Spine Crawlers being added on. Ling is just going to run in and force, well, Scarlett paying attention, so she does cancel there. Doesn't cancel the second one though, cancels the next one. So, Scarlett doing a good job just cancelling the Spines, which she's setting up as a defense. Big movement to the left-hand side by Xigua, going to be looking for a big attack up here, looking to get into a bit of a better position than he could before through the centre. He's just going to be seeing the Roaches, Ravagers, Hydras. Just going to be moving forwards. Here we go. Roaches and Hydras just going to be moving forwards. Here, going to step forwards. Corrosive Bowels coming down. And those Hydras just going to have to kind of be a little bit careful. As we're going to see continue to move forwards here. Scarlett trying to fight, but down on supply. Maybe just because she isn't remaxing already, I think. I mean, it's just kind of starting up her next set of units kind of a bit slower than Xigua is. Maybe deciding what she wants to make, or maybe just missing lava. She's 16 supply down. Now she jumps up to kind of perfectly in supplies. She actually starts up 4 Ultralisks, 5 Ultralisks. So Ultralisk transition without any melee upgrades, right? Because it was Xigua who started some melee upgrades way ages ago that we were like, whoa, what's he doing with melee upgrades? But Scarlett doesn't have any melee upgrades, but does have carapace upgrades and will have chitinous plating to keep them alive for a while. And you see these Roaches just going to be moving down towards the 4th base. Just going to be looking to see what they can get up to. It's an attempt at a bit of a run by from Scarlett, but she's not going to get... well, she actually trades very well. I mean, she runs into more Roaches, but is incredibly kind of taking just a better fight altogether. Picks off a Ravager amongst a few Roaches she picks off. Very, very good trade for her. There's a couple of Overseers going to start morphing in. And just going to be getting, just getting ready to make sure that Xigua has enough to kind of deal with these Lurkers. Scarlett has to kill one of their Evo Chambers to get the Ultralisks out of the base. And we're seeing this again, sort of late game ZvZ, which we don't see all too often. Kind of Lurker Ultra Hydra is the composition Scarlett's heading towards, well, not heading towards, but is in. And on more Ultras here as well, so very, 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 very interesting as we're going to see these Roaches and Ravagers. Just going to keep moving around the left-hand side, just going to keep on looking to see what they can get up to, what they can achieve. I'm just going to be seeing again a couple of Lurkers just burrowed, and another couple of Lurkers just will hopefully just spread out a little bit as we see the Hydras and Ultras just and Lurkers too. It's going to start pushing through the middle of the map. Or are they? No, they're not. It's one of these weird sort of, I'm going to be defensive, I'm going to be passive. Neither player wants to move into the other position, other player's base until they're ready to go. Scarlett looking as though she's more or less ready now, starting to pull down the left-hand side. I mean, she tried a little bit of a run by before, just trading away her Roaches. I mean, again, two very different compositions here. Both players with lurkers available. I mean, Xigua trying to get into ultras, but it's so much later on this switch than Scarlett is. He's going to see some corrosive bars starting to come down. As Scarlett is looking for this fight. Lurkers are going to burrow. She burrows one of her lurkers a bit too far forwards. Two of her lurkers going down, actually. And some of the rest of her lurkers in the back kind of in a bit of a tough spot, too. Scarlett doesn't really want to fight, I don't think, in towards the lurkers of her opponent, but maybe she's just waiting for a few more years. Here we go. She's going to start moving forwards and attacking on into this, but then lurkers going to add on a lot from the back, and these roaches have been doing such a good job of sort of slowly kiting these ultras, throughout time over the last few moments, and just getting, free damage onto them. Xigua makes the mistake and, makes first of all a second ultra cavern, and now also makes a kind of accidental swarm host, which is on the way in the production tab, as we do just see. Scarlett's still money in the bank to kind of, both players kind of similar supplies. Scarlett's actually way up in work account, 63 to 48, and a little bit down on army, and she still tries to push this position right now. In the lower left-hand side, we're going to see lurkers just burrowing and going to start working their way through a few of these drones on the mineral line. Do you see a big counterattack from Xigua? And I mean, this is really nice because Scarlett is so focused on this army down to this bottom left side that this counterattack's going to get a lot done. But, well, I guess that's why Scarlett kind of made this wall of spine crawlers. Has an ultra over here as well, so actually Scarlett is going to deny this very, very easily. Going to push that away, so that's going to be pushed away. Scarlett with an army kind of looping around the left side, still looking to see what sort of position can get into. It's going to be pushing and cleaning up a couple of creep tumors here and there as well. There's a couple of creep tumors going down. And you just see kind of a few lings towards the upper right. So a few lings towards the upper right. Just looking to see what they can get up to. And Viper's just going to start consuming onto these units. So actually a few Vipers coming in. I mean, Blinding Clouds, especially against this army Scarlett saw before, the kind of roach heavy army, Blinding Clouds are going to force them roaches to either back away or to commit into the Ultralisk, which is of course great for the Ultralisks, because if they can get in range of them Roaches, Ravagers, that was the main issue before, couldn't really commit in, but getting the Blinding Clouds would be nice. I wonder do Blinding Clouds work on Lurkers as well? I guess they must do, right? Which would be quite nice also, so that they don't get damage done until the Ultra's on top of them. That might work as well. So, it's going to be seeing how this goes. Ultra's just moving around a little bit. Lurker's going to burrow. And hold this position. I guess this is where we're about to see how effective these Vipers are. I don't think I've ever really... I've seen late game ZvZs on other streams. I don't think I've ever really cast a late game kind of ZvZ. At least not in the very recent... not in recent times. Not like this. As we're going to see... Well, Lurker's moving forward to Scarlett. She's going to actually drop them Blinding Clouds. So yeah, she's just going to use them to kind of stop these Lurkers from being effective until the Ultras are on top of them and able to pick away at them. We're going to see seeing these army continue to push forwards. The Lurker's just going to be left there to kind of continue over there. I think another abduct on a Lurker there going down to bring it back in towards these Ultras to make sure she can get the kill on it. A lot of her own Lurkers getting very low on health, but just surviving. Wow. As Scarlett going to work her way into position on the natural now. And this is going to be a position which, of course, at this point, Xigua has to commit into Scarlett because Xigua cannot just sit back and do nothing. Has to commit to a fight here. Scarlett's Ultras at the front, though, are starting to take a bit of damage. And again, I think there's a +1 melee upgrade still in favour of Xigua in this game. But Scarlett just has the numbers. The Hydra's in the back helping out a lot too. And is cleaning up a lot of this army of her opponents so far. One of these Ultras stay alive on just such low health. Nice abduct forwards on one of these Lurkers too. And another Lurker going down as well. Big Roach counterattack going to get some damage done across the map. Scarlett making Lings and a couple of Ultras should be able to deal with that somewhat easily in the very near future. As she's doing so much damage over here. She's going to make her way into the main base. Work the way against the hatcheries and whatever's around. And that should be Scarlett. Tying up this series one game apiece. As long as ZvZ here to tie things up. But it's going to work out for her, it seems. So the Vipers just have to be a little bit cautious. As we see, these are still just going to be trying to come in here, surround those roaches, trying to stop them from doing too much further damage. I mean, the run by here is the one thing which they have really had going for him. Scar has a lot of minerals, but very limited gas still, actually. She does have a 5th base to the upper right, which will maybe come in use there. She's still a little bit ahead, and she's actually way ahead. 25 army supply up, especially now she just makes a whole bunch more of something. I guess most of these Zerglings, I guess is pretty low, so she's spending on something. You can't see just yet because the production tab isn't on. But she is spending that money. There's 6 Hydras on the way up. Okay, so making a few more Hydras. This Roach is actually fine to the upper right, that hatchery. The Zerglings are on the way, and Ultras too. Can they clean this up in time? As we're going to see, these Roches going to come up on target and down. I mean, drones are trying to mine from this, so if she does lose it, it's obviously going to be something she cares about this. She doesn't want to lose that base. Better to have a 5th base to mine from than not having a 5th base to mine from, obviously. As, just going to be seeing these Zerglings moving around the right-hand side as well. Again, Lings and Ultras. And some Hydras joining up all together. As we're going to see, again to the bottom right, these Ultras and a couple of Queens just sat around and waiting to sort of see what's going on and what's happening. Some Lings going to run by here as well. They're going to go for that hatchery, and they might very well just get it. Scarlett starts up her own Zergling speed now. Was making some Zerglings before, but didn't have speed for them. As that hatchery survives, and she also starts up her +1 melee upgrades, which of course will help out in terms of the Ultralisks. As these Ultras now moving up to the right-hand side as well. Scarlett with a big army also moving down the left towards the 4th base, or, well, actually it's just Zerglings. It's just moving so slow because she doesn't have Zergling speed. The 20-minute slowling run by. Amazing. As we're going to see these Ultras starting to attack in here, but can't really... I don't think can attack into this position. I think the Hydras just do too much over time, especially considering they have +3 attack. Scarlett still no Ling speed. I mean, there's an Ultra here which is just going to completely destroy these Zerglings. So these Zerglings have to back away. They have to be very cautious. So the Zerglings just going to back away. And yeah, I mean, Ultra's looking to keep on trading once again. Hydra's just working their way against these Ultras too, where possible. Ultra's going to come in, finish off that hatch to the top right. Scarlett has to be careful here. Her Ultra count is a little bit lower than her opponents, and well, them slow Lings didn't really do very much. I wonder what's happened for Scarlett to kind of... She seems to be struggling here the last couple of minutes. I think she just cancelled a +1 melee to actually make another Ultralisk as well. So she's really desperate to just get a few more units out. She does have an army supply lead, but so much of it is in Lings, which aren't really doing anything just now. As they run across the map, I mean, they can hit run-bys, they can try and take down important tech structures, such as this Ultralisk Cavern. And Adrenal Gland's finished here, which means that the Ultra Cavern goes down very quickly. The Lings do have at least Carapace upgrades. Lurgan also going to go down. So really just stopping kind of Xigua from building any kind of further kind of units. Drops a Spire, so we're going to see Spire play out of Xigua as maybe a follow-up. I mean, I guess at this point some mutas could maybe switch things up, or maybe he wants to try and go in towards Broodlords as well. I mean, there's a few... I mean, I think Broodlords is more realistic than Mutalisks. So we're just going to see these Lings continue to move around and continue to look to see what is... going on. Ultras cancel the base over to this left-hand side. Maybe these Lings can catch a fight or catch a trade on the right. Scarlett restarts her +1 melee now that she's not under as much pressure. I'm just going to be seeing the Lings continue to look to see what is going on. There's a couple of Queens just pulling over to the right-hand side. These Lings pulling over to the right-hand side too. They're going to run on in here and trade against all of these Zerglings. Scarlett taking this fight here. Ultras have swung around to the right hand side once more from Xigua. Just keep this, keep this in balance, keep his new base protected. And Scarlett going to see this now. Does not want to take that fight. Them Lings will disappear very, very quickly. And Scarlett just still building up. Actually, she doesn't have adrenal glands. Actually, so when I said that she had adrenal glands before, she didn't. I just assumed she did. It looks as though them Zerglings were killing things very quickly. That's just how powerful adrenal glands is. Now the things are actually just going to disappear like even faster. It's insane. Ling run back towards the bottom left, and Ultralisk is in position. Scarlett can't fight an Ultralisk though, not with kind of no upgrade Lings. I wouldn't do anything against it. But can force some lost mining time. Just again keeps Xigua kind of moving around the map. And yeah, just going to be seeing these Zerglings continue to look to see what's going on and what is happening. Single Roche gets picked off to the left-hand side watchtower. Again, I mean, we saw the Spire come up from Xigua, and I wonder if, like, he is going to make a couple Mutalisks. This Hive is on the way down, so the idea of Broodlords is... I mean, his economy is very low to try and switch into Broodlords. It's something which maybe could have won the game, but... yeah, I mean, now he's definitely not going to be able to. Hive going down, and again, these Zerglings for Scarlett, they've been running around for a long time. It's about time they found something a bit more useful to do. As I pick off a couple more buildings here. Scarlett continuing with her melee upgrades. +2 is on the way now. Adrenal Glands on the way up as well, of course, as we mentioned. Still one Ultras to protect our base to the bottom left. As we see, just a couple of mutas just going to start hunting around. But, I mean, there's Hydras, there's Queens, so the mutas, they don't really do very much. So I'm not really sure what the mutas are aiming to achieve here. Whether they're just looking to latch on. I mean, 2 mutas doesn't do a lot. And it's almost as though Xigua started to make mutas and he was like, no, what am I actually doing? What does this actually give me? I mean, he's going to pick off, what, like a couple of overlords, if that? That's really just not, at this point in the game, not a lot at all. Parasitic Bomb onto these mutas. That's maybe a little bit of overkill. Scarlett loses her base to the left side. Now, though, she can attack over to the right side. And, well, there's an Ultralisk over here, but I think there's enough links to surround that base and realistically kill it before anything else is done. Scarlett's going to commit. She's going to send a few things. Well, she was kind of sticking around for a moment or two, but decides not to. She had a Adrenal Glands now, so I think she can kill it. The Patry, that is, if there's only one Ultralisk there. As we're going to be seeing the... Well, I mean, it's such a strange game. Scarlett going into that +2 melee. And it's very mineral starved now. It's actually mined out of her mining bases, which is, one advantage Xigua does have. 3 Ultralisks moving down to this bottom left side, but she's going to run into a whole bunch of Ultras. I'd love to see the units tab just to figure out how, what exactly we're looking at in terms of armies right now. It's very, very close. It is very, very close. As we see the +2 melee about finish of Scarlett, I still do think it is just +1 melee and carapace upgrades on these Ultras from Xigua. As we're going to see, Scarlett is... well, about to have to take a fight. She's got Queens, she's got Queens to transfuse, she's got Hydras to help out in DPS, she's got Spines to try and help out too, but there's so many Ultras she's got to go up against. Lings are going to start streaming in from the backside for her as she's running out of transfusers though. But I think she's winning out. She's still got the Hydras in the back. The Ultras are all starting to go down from both players, but Scarlett does win out the fight in the end. She's got Hydras left over, she's got a couple Ultras left over. She wins out this fight. But she needs another base. She needs to she needs to get mining, or if she can't start mining, she needs to get more damage done. So she needs to end this game. She needs to do something because she's long distance mining against kind of hatcheries which are up around the map for her opponent. +2 melee now up for Scarlett, meaning these Lings as well as Adrenal Glands really do start doing just so much damage throughout here. And we're going to see a trade against some Zerglings in this main base currently. Again, she wins the big fight, has to try and do something with that now. One of the problems, though, is that she wins that fight and comes out ahead in supply, but a lot of her Ultras are very low on health. And so the supply, if she took a fight, she'd very quickly drop 12 supply, which would actually bring these supplies very close very quickly. I was just going to be seeing some Hydras to the right-hand side, some Queens joining up as well. Another couple of Ultras coming out here. So a couple of Ultras, Queens, Hydras, all joining up together. As you see those Vipers just coming up towards the upper left-hand side. So some Vipers coming up towards the upper left. You see a hatchery all the way to the right-hand side of the map as well. Again, this is the problem. Scarlett just doesn't have another base to mine from. Without another base to mine from, she has to do something soon. Otherwise, she's just going to lose this game. She needs mining bases, and she just doesn't have them. Vipers are consuming once again, getting a bit more energy ready to go. We're approaching the 30-minute mark of this ZvZ. Scarlett now, actually, with these Mutalisks. But, she switches in... well, she makes, like, a few Mutalisks, and now she's going to... well, pick up a muta of her opponent. Now Xigua makes a few more mutas too. I mean, what are we even watching right now? I have got absolutely no idea what this is becoming. As we're going to be seeing Scarlett still just not making a move to end this game. She's still just trying to use the Mutalisks here to try and find a way to work through the mineral line, I guess, and just work away on drones. We're going to see a few mutas coming in from Xigua again as a way to defend. And are we really, at this point in the game, just going to end up seeing muta versus muta? I guess with Parasitic Bombs on Scarlett's side, that does help her out a lot. Going to drop a lot of Parasitic Bombs. This muta's going to start taking a lot of damage. They have to split away. Scarlett going to keep on fighting. And I think eventually... it's going to be a really even trade. Scarlett with a reinforcing Mutalisk. But now the Spore Crawler's up, so she can't keep fighting here. And she's still not made another hatchery. She's still not made another hatchery. Hatch to the upper right is going to be actually a little bit unprotected. Scarlett finds this as well. Surely she has to be very concerned about the fact her opponent's mining so much and she's doing absolutely nothing about it. Ultras coming up the left-hand side, and there's only 2 Ultras for Scarlett against, and Hydras against, and Queens against kind of so many Ultras. Is that a fight she can take? Well, not if she takes it just with half her army. She needs to be careful. She has to fight here some way, though, because one of her Ultras is stuck in the back. Transfuser's trying to come down. Hydras are trying to make their way through these Ultras, but it's a good army for Xigua, and it is starting to break on through here. The mutas are still trying to move around to the top side, but Scarlett doesn't have enough to the left. And Scarlett is continuing to lose the Hydralisks, and now Xigua, I think, with just enough Ultralisks, pushes on through. I don't think these... the Vipers aren't very useful. These Hydras are going to go down. The Ultras are getting low on health, but... well, they're still just mining for Xigua, and Scarlett doesn't have mining. That's been the problem for minutes and minutes and minutes in this game. Scarlett took such a good fight about 2-3 minutes ago, and yet she didn't do anything with the advantage that she got. And I mean, maybe she couldn't do that anything with the advantage which she got. I mean, maybe we look at this and maybe she was kind of in a position where she, maybe she attacked, she would have lost because she's only on Hydras and a couple of Ultras. But I feel at that point she just had to try to do something. And that's the problem. She tried to keep long distance mining, but eventually Xigua can just rebuild because of his extra bases. Scarlett going to try and set up some Spine Crawlers towards the front here. Going to try and relocate them from the 4th base, but I mean, Xigua just keeps on mining, keeps on trading. So Muta's going to come in and keep, force the Ultras away for a little while. As we're going to be seeing these, Muta's just going to, again, just try and kill off these Ultras. I mean, it's not, I like to say it's not completely over yet. It sort of is. It's not completely over, but it kind of is as well. Parasitic bombs on the Mutas once again. Wrong Muta splits away there. But I mean, more than anything right now, all Scarlett's doing is kind of buying time for what? For nothing. Spines at the front going to actually stop these Ultras from moving forward so she can maybe kill off a couple of these. She's killed off 2 so far with the Hydras because of the block. Another Parasitic Bomb comes in trying to keep fighting against these Mutas of her opponent. Another Parasitic Bomb going down on an Overseer though. That's a bit of a misclick. As you're going to see Xigua with a 2-0 here will move on through to the Leifeng Cup 145 round of 8. And Scarlett taps out 2-0 from Xigua. He moves to the round of